without exception. And this is a very important point about machines, that their functioning is predictable and knowable in advance so that they work according to what we want these tools, these machines, to do. That's absolutely a fundamental necessity. In other words, their functioning is predictable in every case. But if that wasn't the case, then they would be unreliable and they would be useless. And of course there are examples of machines that have been made shoddily and are unreliable and are therefore useless, but they usually find their way to the scrapyard sooner rather than later. So that's another point. So we made 2 points so far. One, all machines that are of the like kind have the same fundamental principles on which they operate, without exception. Number 2, they are reliable and predictable in how they function. They have to be. And number 3, they all wear out. Sooner or later, they wear out. They wear down, they lose their efficiency, they stop functioning smoothly, and eventually they do have to go to the scrap heap and be recycled and whatnot. That's just a fact. Now when we look at the chemistry of the human body, the fundamental point about chemistry is that when we study chemistry and we perform studies of how different chemical elements react with one another, once we've determined how they do react with one another, whether we're talking about sodium or chlorine or hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, etc. Once we've studied how these interact with one another, then when that is known, it is known by every chemist all over the world. And every chemist can perform the same study of the interactions of chemicals, and they will come up with the same results. So when we're creating alloys and plastics and this and that, different materials, so forth, with which to construct our machines, it's all knowing, it's all knowable, and it's repeatable. And it can be done by any culture. It doesn't matter whether you're Japanese or Chinese or Russian or English or whatever. Every chemist everywhere around the world will be able to repeat a similar, shall we say, study of the interactions of chemicals. This just has to be the way it is. Now, we take those 3 properties, that they all machines of the like kind function according to exactly the same principles. 2, their functions are predictable and knowable in advance and are therefore reliable and are useful as a result. Number 3, they wear out. Laws of physics and chemistry, and of course mathematics also plays its role in the structure, say, of the skeleton, the pelvic girdle and the trochanter and so forth and so on. And they do obey the laws of gravity, no question. Now, if it is true that a human being is a machine, then every human being has to be exactly the same and function according to the same principles. And every human being has to be thoroughly predictable and reliable in our functioning, day-to-day running around. And number 3, we have to wear out. Our bodies have to wear out. Now, let's take these one at a time. If we do actually believe that we are nothing but physical, chemical beings, and that all our dreams and visions and ideas and concepts and memories and on, they would all be exactly the same for everybody if we were indeed a machine. Because that's how machines are. But that, in fact, is not the case. Number 2, we'd have to be totally predictable in our behavior in every instant. And number 3, our body would have to wear out quickly, because machines do wear out quickly. After all, we live anything from, if we're, shall we say, healthy, anything from 75 to 120 years. So we keep our body for that long. But if it was purely a physical, chemical body, that would not be the case. No way. So now, we take this a step further, and we say, okay, in terms of the predictability of our behavior, do we have any evidence to suggest that there is an element of predictability in our behavior, that we will behave in certain ways in certain situations? Well, there is. For instance, we get hungry. And what do? We eat. We get thirsty. We drink. We have an urge to empty our bowels, and that's what we do. Those are all purely mechanical functions, and they are necessities, fundamental necessities of our functioning. But if we move beyond the realm of necessities, which are the result of having a physical chemical body, which we do have, but we move beyond that, and we go to the behavior that we have in our day-to-day running around, there's certainly an element of predictability about that, because everybody gets up in the morning, eats their breakfast, gets in the automobile, and goes to work or gets on the train. And then they put in their, 8-hour shift or whatever it is. They have lunch in the meantime, and they finish their work day, and then they get in their train, or get in their car, or on the bus, and they go home. It's very predictable. Now, would I consider that to be a human characteristic? No. Not at all. I consider that to be a subhuman characteristic. So the physical chemical body in which we are living, and it's necessary to have this physical chemical body, there's no question about that. However, it is not the source of our personality, our individuality, our aspirations, desires, sympathies and antipathies. That does not lie in the physical chemical body. It lies elsewhere, which I will get into at some point. But I want to pursue this further. Alright, so now in terms of the physical chemical body wearing down, it does. Every day. It absolutely does wear down. every day. In other words, it undergoes a process of destruction. This is very clear. And if it wasn't for the fact that this physical chemical body of ours, along with another body, which I will get into later, is abandoned by us every night, and it is renewed while we are elsewhere, shall I say, during the time of sleep, because that's what the condition of sleep is. We simply abandon our physical chemical body, and the other body, that there's a very significant aspect of the physical chemical body, and we leave it there, and it's lying on the bed or on the couch or on the floor, wherever we happen to fall asleep. And we depart. That is the condition of sleep. Now, while we are gone, having, shall we say, cursorily abandoned our physical chemical body, a certain event takes place during the course of the night while we're gone, whereby the physical chemical body is renewed. It's refreshed, it's reinvigorated, it's built up again from the process of destruction that goes on during the day. And if that was not the case, there is no possibility that we would live to the age we have potential to live to if we take care of ourselves. And even people who don't take care of themselves, as I bear witness to every day here, my in-laws, my wife's parents, who we're here to take care of, because they are incapable of taking care of themselves. Nevertheless, at 91 years old and in decrepit condition, they are still here in their physical bodies, physical chemical bodies. So even, and they have certainly not taken care of their physical body at all. Not at all. Nevertheless, here they are, 91 years old. Not in the condition that I would recommend to anybody, but they are here. So, obviously, this physical chemical body is renewed every day. And if it wasn't the case, we would not survive longer than maybe, at the most, 20 years. Now, Rudolf Steiner made a great statement one time, which is very important that we all indelibly impress in our minds. And that is this: the human being has been given the freedom to become whatever he or she thinks they are. In other words, what is the human being? What are you? What am I? Now, if we do think, and as I said, most people do think because their behavior reveals it, that the human being is a machine, we will definitely become machines. There's no doubt about it. Now, of course, a lot of people